Hello, friends. Welcome again. Another day, another Dharma. Meditation time. All right. Yeah, wherever you are, however you are, however this moment finds you, welcome, settle, soften, sense. I've been just reflecting for a few minutes each day on different Pali words, and somebody suggested or asked me to offer some reflections on metta. And often on Fridays, end of the week, we put the emphasis a little more on the heart. So there we go, metta. So metta is maybe one of the most familiar Pali words to anybody who's involved a little in this practice. And you may not know, but if you've been around a little bit or you've done the odd retreat or something, you're probably familiar with metta, and its usual translation is loving kindness. Loving kindness. Oh, that sounds kind of nice. Loving kindness. Very nice. It's a little saccharine sometimes, I think, the term loving kindness. So, a couple of things I'd like to say about it, and then we'll sit with that quality of metta. Firstly is just the actual etymology. The best single translation for metta is friendliness. Friendliness. Metta. Like on Monday, we spoke about kalyana, that quality, that which is beautiful, spiritual, uplifting, kalyana. And the way that term appears in the term the Buddha used for himself, kalyana mitta. A kalyana mitta means a supportive friend, a wise friend, a spiritual friend. Right? Mitta, same root as metta. And so metta is friendliness. And I'd like to just encourage you to consider it as that. Rather, let go of ideas about loving kindness, which sounds like it's got to be something special, right? Metta. Is there a problem with the sound? Seems okay on my side. Everything seems normal here. That's all I can tell you. Leave aside ideas of loving kindness, as I say, and just the idea, what's it like? Friendliness. What does friendliness feel like? Right? When you're feeling friendly towards someone, towards something, towards life itself, towards yourself, friendly. It just basically feels warm. There's a kind of warmth, a radiant warmth, It feels easy to be warm-hearted. Friendliness is the extension of warm-heartedness, right? When you're somebody who you feel you're friendly with, it means it's easy to love them. Someone who you don't know, but you find yourself wanting to be friendly, to extend the heart. And I would say that friendliness is a much better translation than loving kindness. It's kind of more accessible and friendly. If somebody is being friendly towards you, if you feel, that was really nice, they were really friendly. What do you mean? You mean they were warm. They extended warmth, a sense of welcome, non-judgmentalness, a sense of, the wish to connect. So metta is friendliness, most essentially. The felt sense of metta, universally pretty much, is, as I say, is warmth, and a sense of not just temperature warmth, but radiant warmth. One has the feeling in the chest of metta is that. It had a feeling of radiating, of spreading out like waves, radiant warmth, right? Like the way a radiator, the warmth comes out from a radiator. So that's the first thing. It's friendliness, simple. Second, the feeling of it, like that. And third, sometimes in the practices of metta, one focuses on oneself. May I be well, may I be safe, may I be at ease. Beautiful, why not? No one focuses on others. May you be well, may you be safe. Excuse me. Ooh. May you be at ease. Beautiful. And then sometimes one gets a little concerned with which direction. So you might find it helpful to cultivate metta, to offer those kinds of phrases to yourself or to others, to someone specific, to all beings. But most essentially, where does metta need to go? Most essentially, where does metta go? Should it be first to oneself? Should it be first to others? Where is metta most needed? I wonder if you know me well, maybe you can imagine what I'm going to say. Where should metta most essentially go? It should go to what's happening. Whether it's inner or whether it's outer is just secondary. Whether it's me or you, doesn't matter so much. Like I say, it might be helpful in some times if one's feeling very insecure or one knows one's being harsh on oneself. So, may I be well. May I accept myself as I am, etc. Why not? Why not? But I think one of the limitations with this practice of offering metta to oneself and then to some other and then to someone one likes and then to someone one doesn't like and then slowly to all be very nice. Why not? But simple practice, just metta towards what's happening, to the experience of the moment. Whether the experience of the moment, it seems to be more of an inner or self-referential experience, or whether it seems to be more of an outer or relational experience. Practices are complicated enough as they are. Let's not make them more complicated. So, simple way to be with metta. Metta is friendliness. What do I want to be friendly with? Whatever's happening. Right? Be friendly towards whatever's happening. If you're friendly towards whatever's happening, or if you cultivate a practice of being, a practice of showing up with a warmth of heart towards whatever's happening, then you'll find that will include you and others and all things and all beings. Because oneself and others and all things and all beings can only appear as what's happening. So let's be friendly towards what's happening. That's metta. Let's be friendly towards what's happening. And even maybe when I just say that, let's be friendly towards what's happening. Can you feel, even in the wish, you have to do something, you have to dredge up some radiant warmth, but just in the wish, let me be friendly towards what's happening. Even in the wish, you can feel maybe that sense of friendliness. Yeah. And don't make it a demand. I'm supposed to be friendly towards whatever's happening. As soon as you make a demand of how I should be friendly, I've got to be friendly to everything, then you get tight and you cut off the radiator. So the way one engages with ideas of metta, the way one engages in practices of metta, important that one holds it rather lightly. That's what can turn on the radiator. Simple, gentle. It's always good to be simple and gentle. Yeah. And then maybe one last thing before we sit together. And maybe we'll do a little chanting as well this morning, because chanting and metta goes together very well. One last thing. Sometimes metta is seen as this sort of practice over here, like we do some awareness practice, mindfulness practice, and then we do some metta practice. So I'm going to sit with my breath, etc., and then I'm going to do some metta. Okay, again, if that's helpful, great. But it doesn't need to be some separate practice. quality of friendliness can be absolutely inherent in our intentions for how to practice everything. So this morning, as we sit, we're not going to do some special metta practice. We're just going to meditate like we usually do, being present, right? Gathering and settling the attention, letting ourselves feel the way body is here and breathing, making room for the immediacy of things. Same practice as usual. And just emphasizing the way that quality of presence is a friendly presence, a warm presence, a welcoming presence, an inviting presence. And that's actually inherent in all the practices I teach and my own way of practicing. I don't consider metta to be a practice that one does at all. I consider metta to be a vital and inherent quality of heart with which we do our practices, with which we enter into our lives, with which we want to meet everything and everyone. Let's be friendly towards what's happening. So, please take your seat for meditation. And as a chant, I thought we might just chant a very simple 3-word chant. Metta to all, 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 metta to all. Sense your chest. Metta to all. Warm metta to all. 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 Feel it. Metta to all. 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 Metta duo. So settling into the feel of being here in a way that's simple and gentle. And just feeling for a quality of friendliness with which you connect to the feel of body sitting, of breath, breathing. Maybe your attention comes naturally to the center of your chest, or maybe you might gently gather your attention here. You might, if you find it difficult to connect to some feeling in your chest, you might gently put your hand there. And as you just sit and sense and breathe, just considering the words of the chant a moment, metta to all, meaning to whatever arises. The willingness to be friendly to this breath, to this moment, to this mind. Friendly enough to let what arises arise, and to let what passes pass. To let each moment arise and pass in an atmosphere of welcome, of friendliness, of love, of metta. Letting it be a loving awareness, a tender awareness, a friendly awareness that senses this breath, that opens to experience, that lets go of various thoughts. Letting your meditation, as much as possible, happen within an atmosphere of friendliness. If you look for the source or origin of that friendliness, maybe it feels like it's in the chest, but it also radiates. It fills the space of awareness, so that it feels maybe as if consciousness is actually made of love. That consciousness by its nature is gentle, allowing, receptive, friendly, forgiving. And so you forgive yourself for all those crazy thoughts. Forgive yourself your wandering mind. And forgive everything that enters into awareness. And forgive discomfort, restlessness, dullness, boredom, anger, sadness. Everything's forgiven as it enters into this atmosphere of metta. As easily as anything is made wet when it enters into water. Or as naturally as anything is made warm when it enters into sunlight. Metta is the sunlight of awareness. Receiving and warming whatever comes and goes. No need to try to be friendly. No need to try to feel anything particular. Being simple and gentle. If you don't feel friendly, if you feel agitated this morning or irritable, then be simple and gentle with that. To be simple and gentle, to be forgiving and kind towards one's own difficult mind states. That's metta. Whatever's here, be friendly towards it. A friendly atmosphere allows you to relax. And relaxing makes for a friendly atmosphere. This is how we discover gentle awareness, loving awareness. This is how our life becomes a meta field. May all beings live with the radiant warmth of heart that is metta. May we all be friendly to ourselves, friendly to each other. May we cultivate friendliness. May we trust friendliness. May we live in friendliness. May we be friendly to whatever arises. Metta to all. All right. So, simple, but I'd say that's real metta. Accessible, natural warm-heartedness. If it feels too much to generate loving kindness, maybe it's easier just to be friendly. So a couple of important things as we come to the end. Firstly, just to appreciate your practice and your presence this week. Thank you for showing up, for asking questions, for supporting each other in all the ways you do with your warm, friendly, metta-full comments and support for each other in the chat. Also, Friday is the day that I tend to, put the Dana request in bold. Sangha Live needs your support if it's to continue. There's a whole team dedicated to making practices and teachings available freely, live and direct for you almost every day of every month. And, it takes a lot to technically and logistically to organize all of that and manage the website and liaise with teachers, etc. So it's freely offered, and in return we ask you to please freely offer, so that there's a sense of mutual support. If you can, if you can't, if you're financially stretched and it will be a source of difficulty or anxiety for you, hey, just take in and receive that which is offered. And yet, if you feel like, you can, to whatever level, even if it feels very modest to you, really, however much or however little you feel able to offer, it's to follow through and make that offer is an act of dana, an act of support, of appreciation and generosity, and it's an act that really makes a difference. Makes a difference to me personally. The teacher each week gets some of the dana, so I'm supported. Makes a difference to Sangha Live. Every offering that comes in, is money that's therefore used to support what's happening here, and it's an act that makes a difference to everyone who shows up here and will be able to show up here ongoingly, because we can keep this show on the road then. So we want to support you the best we can. We ask you to support us the best you can, and you can just go to sangha.live/donate. That link is in the email that you will have received this morning to remind you about this morning's sitting. So there's the link to come to the room here to sit together, and there's also a dana link there. So thank you. Whatever support you're able to give, whatever support you feel moved to give, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it makes a difference. All right. We've got some time for questions this morning. You can raise your hand or type a question. And like Sally did with her question when it appeared there, if you just put question in caps, it helps me to recognize it among the flow of comments. Where are we gone? Where are we gone? How do I show metta to Suella Braverman, the UK Home Secretary, and her policy on refugees, and Putin for that matter? Yeah. The very first teachings I ever had on metta were in 1989 in Dharamsala in India. And we were asked to bring metta, to generate metta, to bring to mind somebody it was easy to love, somebody it was difficult, and then somebody it was very difficult to love. And I couldn't think. I didn't have any particular conflicts going on in my personal life. I couldn't think of anybody who I felt animosity towards. And then I thought of someone, Margaret Thatcher, who was the UK Prime Minister at the time and very reviled in certain quarters. And she seemed to be the antipathy of all that was wrong with the world to me. And yet, as I just considered her, wow, imagine this woman going around sort of, and all the comments that she'd made and the actions that she'd taken at the expense so often of ordinary people. There was a climate, very similar economic climate and political climate in many ways than there is now in the UK. And just connecting to, what it's like. What is it like for Margaret Thatcher, for Suella Braverman, for Vladimir Putin, for anyone we might put in that lens? What's it like for that person to live with anger, blame, resentment, aggression, prejudice? Wow, what's it like? Ooh. We know ourselves. You know, I know what it's like to live when my own heart gets contracted, gets defensive, aggressive, mean-spirited, angry, blaming. It's horrible. It's painful. And then we realize, oh, that person that seems to be the person causing a lot of suffering, right? That's also true maybe, but that person is also suffering. That person is suffering from a closed heart, right? Not much friendliness, not much ease, not much joy, probably. Oh, so reflecting like that, it's like sometimes understanding is the source of metta. Understanding that the person we're having difficulty with is themselves lost, confused, hurt, shut down, and suffering. And then we realize, oh, we don't want them to suffer. Because actually, if they were suffering less, if they had more access to lightness and joy and care and warmth and love, that would directly alter the way they are in the world. So even though the one who seems to be the perpetrator of suffering seems like they become an object for our resentment or anger, when we look a little more deeply, we see, oh no, that person really needs metta. That person really, it's like, oh, I would really, the one causing harm, them I would really wish well, wish that they might soften and settle and be more at ease with themselves, right, and be more connected to their own hearts, because that would make a big difference. So one can still be vehemently against what that person does in the world, how that person shows up. One can have strong disagreements, etc. You can put the person, you can be strongly against what somebody is doing or saying without being against the person themselves. That's the difference, right? You can, it's like being able to differentiate the person's actions and words from their basic humanity, even when it's hard to see that basic humanity. Yeah. All right. What else? Caroline says, I have a difficult situation with a close person. I think they would just like to forget something that happened and return to a positive relationship, but I feel unable to do this without addressing and talking over what happened. Yeah. Any suggestions? So, I don't know enough about the situation, Caroline, to know, right? Sometimes it's true. It might be not possible to just move on. It might be just a sort of denial and avoidance in just moving on. And so it might need addressing and talking over what happened. And sometimes we want to address and talk over because we realize it's like, I need the other person to sort of, we want to address and talk over what's happened because we somehow want to change the other person, or even get back at the other person, or even let the other person know how strongly I feel. Right? Understandable, but is that necessary? So I'm not suggesting it is or isn't. It might really need addressing and talking over what happened, and it might not. But either way, and you have to give some real care and attention to find out which is true. Either way, probably the best place to start is with your own emotional digestion. Because if you're feeling still angry or resentful or hurt or blaming in some way, then if you start addressing and talking over what's happened, that'll be what is leading. So the best time to address and talk over what has happened is when you've sort of done your own digestive work and you're able to recognize, oh, okay, this person, whatever they said or did out of their own obscuration and difficulty, right? And so it's like there's a way, it's like finding a way to forgive them, which doesn't mean denying your own hurt or anger. No, you need to make room for that. You need to be friendly towards it. Oh, I still feel angry with them. Okay, be friendly towards the anger. Let yourself feel it. Right? Not just getting into the story and repeating what happened and how outrageous it was, but actually caring for your own angry feelings. And then the more you can take care of that, the more you'll be able to talk over what happened without getting hot yourself. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can answer some questions on screen. Miriam, I've invited you, Miriam. So if you just accept that invitation and you put on your microphone and your camera, it should show up as an invitation to become a co-host. Co-host might sound a bit much, but don't worry. It's just what allows you to come on screen. So I'm inviting you, Miriam, but I don't see you accepting that invitation. I see Susan as well as invited and Jane as invited, but let's see if strange. And Susan, you don't seem to be available to invite on screen. I can't, anybody else I can invite to be a co-host, but Susan, when I'm inviting you, I think maybe your camera or mic isn't on in some way, or it's incompatible to invite you on screen for whatever reason, maybe the browser you're using or something. And Miriam, I'm inviting you, but you're not showing up. And Jane, I see that you also have your hand up, and let's see. I also know that Jane is pretty much the only person who who has come on screen recently. So I'd like to make some room for others if they want. All right, let's just. I'm trying to just track through the other questions. Maureen says, is it possible to set up Sangha Live on Facebook fundraisers? That's a great idea, Maureen. We could then set up things like birthday fundraisers as extra support. That's terrific. Please do send that to the Sangha Live admin. Yeah, info@sangha.live. And we'll talk about it. I'll try to remember to bring it up at the next board meeting, which I think will be next Wednesday. And meanwhile, what a great idea. Thank you. And yes, please do write to the admin. Okay, Britta says about meta field. I feel so much of my life has not been there. I easily get into situations where I have a lot of contempt for those people who show contempt for others and get caught in a loop. Yeah. The contempt becomes a loop, right? Because one sees the contempt there and one doesn't like it. It's horrible. And they're not liking it, one feels contempt towards it. And one doesn't like it here either. Even though you get into it, we never like it. We might feel it's justified. There's something about us that gets invested in being right, but I'm right and they're wrong. And it can be very intoxicating and seductive to be right. It sort of feels powerful. We love that sense of, it's like, I'm unambiguously right. And yet, there's also part of us, even if we don't acknowledge it, recognizes that there's something distasteful about that contempt. And because we don't like it, we try to not feel it or sort of ignore it or turn away from it. And therefore, when we see it in others, again, we feel like, oh yeah, that we'd rather blame it in others than we would acknowledge it in ourselves. So the good part of all that, Britta, is that you're just acknowledging it, right? So when you notice it, when you get caught in the loop and you have a lot of contempt for those people, it's like, oh, can you be gentle with your own contempt. Don't worry yet about being gentle with theirs. That can come afterwards. Can you be gentle with your own contempt, forgiving of your own contempt, friendly towards your own contempt? Friendly doesn't mean, oh, it's all right to contempt. No, it's not all right. It's painful. It's horrible to feel contempt. But it's like, oh yeah. It's actually when metta starts to tip over into karuna, right, where friendliness becomes compassion. It's like recognizing, oh, it's hard to feel like this. It's hard to carry around difficult mind states and closed-heartedness, you know? So being tender with that, being simple and gentle with that, forgiving of that, that's that quality, right? If the quality of metta is a sense of radiance in the heart, then the quality of karuna is a kind of ache in the heart. That's what compassion feels like, oh, compassion is that quality of love that arises in response to that which is painful. Yeah. And there's a chapter of my book, Awake Where You Are, called The Body of Love. And it goes through the different qualities of love, right? Particularly metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, the sort of four boundless qualities. And both really exploring them and also giving very, like we did today with metta, very kind of simple and accessible ways of practicing with and of understanding those qualities. So we don't get too bogged down in some of the Buddhist language, which like loving kindness, it's just a little too far away. It's not that complicated, you know. I don't know why scholars and practitioners have made it complicated. Sometimes I think just through not understanding enough from the inside, and then we get bogged down in the descriptions. Make it real, make it simple, make it gentle, make it accessible. Like the Dharma's right here. Always has to be, and it can't be anywhere else. Nothing is anywhere else. Experience is only accessible right here. So friends, please take your warm-heartedness into your day. Right? Be friendly to whatever arises, inner or outer, pleasant or unpleasant. That's a good practice. Thank you for your presence and practice today. Oh, I'll be here tomorrow. I'm going to do a day of practice tomorrow. And what's it about? Oh, I think it's about lineage and teachers and teachings and like understanding a sense of lineage. And that's not so much in a teaching about, but I'll be guiding people a little bit more to recognize what's your own lineage? What does it mean to honor lineage? You know, and to feel oneself supported by the blessings of lineage in various ways. So you'll no doubt see that on the Sangha Live website or hear about it in some or other email or something. So if you'd like to show up tomorrow, feel free. I look forward to seeing you there, and we'll have 3 hours to explore a little more. Ah, yes, thank you, Anouk. It's not about lineage. It's about, creativity. Is that tomorrow or is that next month? I don't know what it's about. We'll find out. I'll find out when I get there, and you'll find out from the email or something. All right. Thank you, friends. Go well.